Fish are in. Let's talk about it.
Panther. Damn. Bobcat. Bro, chill out. Fish.
Javi's gonna wear the hat. Recently, I have been really drawn to camp, especially in styling and fashion. I think part of the trend cycle that we're in right now is driven by maximalism. A lot of us are drawn to camp because it's eye-catching, it's fun, and it feels like connecting with your inner child that maybe needs some healing right now. I also think part of the current trend cycle is that people want to wear things that really stand out, especially if they're going to be posting them on social media. It's also something that I think brings a lot of lightness to our everyday lives. You can put on something fun and maybe not think so much about the heavy world that we're currently living in. It's something that you can kind of signify to other people that you like fashion, that you're a fun person, and maybe that will bring people together. I can't say specifically why I've been drawn to fish. I like all animals. My focus has just been on fish, particularly river fish recently. I just think they're fun, and I can watch TikToks of fish of the week.
Ole mole.
Also, those TikToks of like the speed of fish, all great, you know. It's been on my feed and I've been thinking about it. Which brings me to my next point is that I would like to think I have a mind of my own and I'm not influenced by a bunch of outside sources, especially an algorithm. But I've also been seeing a lot of fish related things on social media, including fashion fish items. They've definitely caught on that I'm into fish in the process of me kind of doing a lot of research for this video and filming it, and I've also bought stuff. I can't escape fish on any social media at this point, which I'm enjoying. Because it's been all over my feed, I've definitely been inspired to wear my own clothing in different ways. I've also definitely been influenced to buy fish related goods. So it could be that the algorithm has me pinned as a fish lover, but I also think they're a little bit trendy right now. And that's why I think it ended up within my social media algorithm. A lot of the things that I've been seeing are fish charms, fish bags, fish hats. The fish hat thing has been like a joke for a while, I think. But I've also been seeing fish ties. I'm also obsessed with, I think her name is Myra on TikTok. She makes the best get dressed with me videos. They're just every single time they bring me so much joy. And there's one that she posted somewhat recently that was kind of a fish outfit, and the shirt that she's wearing in it, I just want so bad. Like, it's all the stuff that she wears is really cool, but this in particular, really cool. And a lot of the trends over the last few years are kind of silly. And I think that's how a lot of people prefer to dress. It's fun and it makes it feel like you don't have to take things too seriously. It's also statement wearing fashion that has evolved from a bit of an online presence. People aren't wearing these things on a daily basis, but see it as aspirational as well as inspiration for their daily lives. And I mean, that's just kind of fashion online in general, but I think in particular with this fashion trend and kind of like the camp aesthetic and maximalism, I think it heavily applies. And that it is something that's like heavily on social media specifically. Like, you don't really see many people dressing like this outside of social media, whether you're watching them on YouTube or watching them get ready on TikTok or seeing their outfit posts on Instagram or Pinterest. The maximalism and the over the top outfits, over the top styling. And I wouldn't even say like you're just wearing a bunch of stuff. It's just like a very interesting styling is kind of a thing right now. There's the whole core aesthetic, which everything gets kind of categorized under like a core. We've got bloke core, we've got gorp core, we've got cottage core. That one's an old one. So I first want to get into why I think that I'm seeing this on social media and where the trend might have come from. There aren't a lot of resources on this, so that makes that complicated. And I also just think that fish have been a motif in fashion for a very long time, so I can't like date it back to the first time a fish was ever on a fashion item. I started seeing it around, I think, 2021, and that is when people were talking about tinned fish, and a lot of people were kind of labeling it as the it girl food, which then, of course, turns into an aesthetic. I believe it was called sardine core. Of course, food easily connects to a lot of different markets, so we started seeing sardines and sardine related things on home goods and fashion items. I think the first video that I saw referenced for this was by Allie Hook, posted on TikTok, which was her eating sardines with her boyfriend and how they would get kind of like luxury sardines as a date night thing.
Here, welcome to Tin Fish Date Night. My husband and I love to buy cool tin fish whenever we see it, and then every Friday we pick out a few tins and have that for dinner. This time we're having Spanish sardines, fishwife smoked trout, mussels with sweet kombu, and mackerel spiced pate. It's been a while since we've had this pate, and we were reminded just how much we love it.
It's a food item that comes in a lot of different flavors, and there's a lot of different brands out there. It's also shelf stable, and there's also a bit of an affordability. I know there are like luxury sardines and sardine brands, but I do think there are kind of sardines that are a little bit more accessible, that people can go to the grocery store and try. And if it's something that they like and enjoy, they could then buy more expensive brands. The packaging for sardines is a really easy shape. There's a lot of different ways that a brand can make that their own, which I think is also another reason that you see it everywhere, because so many brands have a lot of interesting creative ideas around it and making it their own, and people see that and think that's really cute. The specific branding is on it, and it's fun. Fish and fish motifs have been a thing in fashion for a very long time. The first thing that this trend kind of reminded me of, like I immediately thought of it, was the iconic lobster dress by Schiaparelli from 1937, which was a collaboration with the famous surrealist Salvador Dali. This dress has been referenced and redone in so many different ways, including by the brand Schiaparelli themselves that relaunched in 2014 after going bankrupt 60 years prior. There are also these fish shoes that I believe are pretty popular on Pinterest. I've been seeing them everywhere on social media for a while, but I think of them because they're so beautiful. They were designed by Andre Perugia, an Italian-French boutier who crafted eccentric footwear for Paul Poiret. These shoes in particular were produced around 1955 and were a tribute to the Cubist painter, I don't know French, Georges Braque, who often used geometric fish as a motif. I think about these shoes all the time, and it's not something I could see myself ever purchasing because I wouldn't wear them. They're like too precious. But the collector in me just wants them, and I want to stare at them in person and be like, that's some good design. I was also thinking about things a little bit later. I mean, in the 1980s, I think there was a bit of a tropical fish trend, a lot of really bright colors. I saw some examples when I was looking up different kind of fish motifs throughout history by Gucci and Betsy Johnson. There was also these tropical fish bags by Betsy Johnson, I believe in the early 2000s. I couldn't find any specific dates that they were produced, but they just seem very fun. And there's also a Alexander McQueen collection that I think about that just feels very like fishy but also alien, which also makes me think of fish because if you like think about ocean fish and ocean creatures. But it was the spring summer 2010 collection, and specifically the last look. And then more recently, there's been the tin fish trend. Lisa Seska had sardine print shirts, and then later, I think just this year, they have kind of this whole food print pants that I've been seeing everywhere, but the fish are still there. And then Bottega Veneta had a fish clutch on their fall 2024 runway, which then had a lot of people claiming that there would be a fish bag trend. And I've seen a lot of fish bags since then. JW Anderson had some. Because sardines are somewhat adjacent to seafood and beaches, many of the prints and silhouettes in fashion are seemingly made for vacations. There is also a bit of nostalgia that I think a lot of people are drawn to when it comes to the kitschy aesthetic. It does kind of feel like artwork that you saw a lot in your childhood. I think a lot of people, it reminds them of beach vacations as a kid. I feel like everyone knew one person in their life as a kid that had beach home decor. Specifically, my grandma had a bathroom that was like beach themed, you know? And I think everyone knew someone that had a beach room. And since the tin fish trend, I've seen a lot of Mediterranean ocean theme. I think Italian summer is kind of trending right now. It definitely feels like beach and ocean adjacent, which feels natural. You think of like tin fish and seafood and beaches and continue on that route. But I think the next step for this trend, and maybe a bit of a prediction for this fall, maybe a little bit of a I'm desiring this for this fall, is that this moves into freshwater fish and maybe even a little bit less glamorous fish. I think of ocean fish as glamorous, but this is something that has like already been done, obviously. But Fashion Brand Company in particular has a dress called the Fish Eating You gown, and then they also have a print that's called the Cute Fish print, which features anglerfish. I may or may not be wearing it right now because I had to get this. Cowboy's having little kitty dreams next to me. He's probably dreaming of fish too. I also, this last December, purchased this from Cognitive Surplus, which is like freshwater fish notebook that I've been using as like my daily planner. And it's just so good. I love looking at all these little guys. This one in particular, he's cool. I don't know. So I think why I'm thinking river fish specifically is it's still kind of along the lines of this food fashion tin fish trend, but a little bit more removed, a little bit more natural. And people also eat river fish and fish in lakes and rivers, freshwater fish. It's a little bit more connected to like gorpcore. Again, I think it's like an evolution of like the tin fish trend and a few other trends, but like gorpcore tinned fish. And then I'm also thinking like camo print has been very popular recently. I have a hard time thinking about that because I just grew up with a lot of people wearing camo in high school, and I was thought it was like the ugliest thing ever. I'm like, you're not hunting, you don't need to wear that. But I know a lot of people find it fun and natural and like earthy, and I think that freshwater fish are gonna start having their little moment because they're fun and earthy. I've also been seeing a lot of interesting things about fish leather being made. A lot of fish parts are actually thrown out during the process of getting meat off of the fish. And a lot more sustainable option in that industry specifically is to try and use more of the animal instead of just throwing it away. And it does take longer to process fish leather than it does other leathers, specifically cow leather, but it also tends to be a little bit more durable and breathable, according to a few articles that I read. And a few months ago, I had seen a TikTok on my For You page of someone that specifically makes fish leather and does kind of custom pieces. And it's really interesting to me. I'm not a person that really wears leather. Like, I will wear vintage leather, but I don't really seek out new made leather. But it is, I think, a good sustainability option. And I think there's a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. Now, why do I think the fish trend is so enticing for a lot of brands and also for the consumer? First, I think fish are shiny and pretty and mysterious. And why wouldn't you want to wear them or wear something that is inspired by them? There are also a lot of different directions you could take this in terms of accessories coming from like fish motifs. There's embroidery, there's color inspiration. Shapes in general for a fish are very modern yet organic. So there's a lot of playfulness that can be done there. I think there's a lot of interesting design that can come from that. There's also simple designs that are easily readable as a fish, and it's an easy template to do in terms of design, and a lot of reference material can be inspired from real fish or other types of food and motifs already used in fashion that are close to fish. I think there's a lot to be explored within this, and I'm interested to see where it'll go because I myself am really inspired by fish. Now, since I like little guys and my social media has picked up on this, I am introduced to a lot of little guys that specifically align with fashion. And I started engaging with fish fashion content, and it just kept coming to me. There's fish celebrations that I saw on TikTok, which honestly just look so cool. I want to be a part of that. I was getting fish memes, fish hats, fish jewelry, beautiful beaded embroidery fish bags, like amazing things that I was being bombarded with. And I was like, I can appreciate that, but I don't really want to buy it or purchase it. I try to make sustainable choices when it comes to clothing. I want to invest in really good pieces and really beautiful things, and I'm definitely online probably too much when it comes to fashion stuff, and I'm just sometimes you see something and you like really want it, and I try not to be that way, but I have to admit the algorithm gets to me and I'm like that is something I need and I keep seeing it everywhere and I want to engage with it and be a part of it and I don't like that, but sometimes it does lead to me purchasing really cool things. Something came across my timeline. It's by the brand Curlworks. They posted that they are making a fish fanny pack, to which I kind of lost my mind. Like it was so well done and I just immediately wanted it. I like went to their website and I was like, where can I get it? Like right now I need this. And I usually try to think about things for a couple of months. There's sometimes that I definitely make frantic decisions on where I'm like, this is only going to exist right now and you have to get it right now. But for the most part, I try and like give myself some space and time because I'm like, if I want it in a couple months and it's still available, then I can get it. And a lot of times it's on sale. They were launching a Kickstarter for it in May. And then, of course, it would take a few months for them to produce everything. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I really want something similar to this, but maybe not exactly this. Like, I have the other fish in mind, And on top of that, like, I wanted it then and there, which caused me to make my own fish fanny pack. It took some time, but I made it. And I first started looking at different river fish for inspiration of what I wanted exactly. And I ended up finding this beautiful little guy called the yellow perch fish. They are native to much of Northern America and can live up to 11 years. Oh yeah, Ethan. I just really like the way that they look, and I think their colors are really cool. And I also felt like I could kind of work off the color palette and have something fun and interesting. Now, I was really just gonna make this bag and call it for this trend because, like, I love the bag and I think it's great, but something in me still really longed for the original design. And I have purchased things from Curlworks before. I really like their art, especially their bird art. It's really good. But while I was in the middle of like writing the script for this video, it's taken me a long time to actually make this video. They posted their Kickstarter and a couple days before it closed, I was like, you know what, I can't pass up on this opportunity, and I got it. But in the meantime, I made my own bag. So I also have just really wanted to get better at sewing, and I thought this was a really fun project to do because I've never really made a bag before and I've just wanted a project that I was excited about, and I was excited about this. So it was definitely a bit of a headache. At one point, I was like hand sewing, and I was like, okay, we're done, like I'm done with the bag. And I looked at it the next morning, I was like, I hate it. And I took it completely apart and like redid a new tail, and it was just a whole thing. This is the fish. It's definitely got a few quirks to it. It's been a month and a half, almost 2 months since I finished it, so it's great. I love it. I wear it around. I like it a lot. It was good for me to do this sewing project. I definitely have a few more ideas for sewing things that I want to continue, but I'm glad that I like pushed myself and made this because it was not easy. And although I don't think I'm done acquiring fish goods just yet, this is kind of where I have to stop for now. Unless Altarware restocks their fish love necklace. I just want it so bad. Anyways, I think that's gonna be my last fish purchase. I've purchased enough fish goods. I think it's a really fun trend. I think overall there's a lot of creativity, and I think you can find ways to engage with it in terms of secondhand goods. There's a lot of vintage, and I also think that you can easily make your own stuff, do embroidery, do art, all that. Like, it's just really fun. So, if you have any fish ideas, I hope that you get to make them. Thank you so much for watching. All my resources and reference material is going to be below. So, thanks for listening to me rant about fish and talk about fish for this long. It's been fun, mostly, I think. Bye!